you feel your bones start to shake? Do you feel the earthquake? Do you feel your bones start to shake? Do you feel the earthquake? Do you feel your bones start to shake?
Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, I'm Hazel and I do true crime content. Now today's case is going to be the case of Millie Dowler. Now this case actually happened really close to where I live, literally like 2 towns over. So I know the area and I know the case. This happened when I was quite young, but I grew up knowing this case. So let's get into the case. Amanda Jane Dowler was born on the 25th of June 1988. She was known to her friends as Millie. Her family also called her Millie. Millie lived with her mum and dad and her sister Gemma in a house in Walton on Thames in Surrey in the UK. She attended Heathside Secondary School in Weybridge. She is described as an infectious person. Everyone that knew Millie wanted to be her friend. She was very kind and funny, and Millie was a talented musician as well. I didn't actually make a note of what she played, but I think it was the recorder or the saxophone, I'm not sure. No, it's not really important to the case, but she was a very talented musician. At 3:07 PM on the 21st of March 2002, Millie left Heathside School with some friends. She walked to the train station with one of the friends. Now the girls got off at Walton train station, which is actually a stop earlier than Millie would normally get off. She'd normally get off at Hersham, but she got off at Walton because the girls wanted to have a catch up. So they went to the cafe at the station to get some food and to have a chat, like teenage girls do. Millie wanted to catch up with her friends. So there was other people at the cafe, and she asked one of the lads if she could borrow their phone to ring her dad. So she rang her dad, let him know that she was going to be a little bit later home, but that she was okay and that she would see him later. This was at 3:47, and Millie said that she would be half an hour and then she'd be home. The girls left the cafe at 4:05. Millie's friend asked her if she needed a lift home or wanted somebody to walk with her, but Millie said she'd be fine, and she set off, leaving her friend with her friend's sister. Around 3 minutes later, Millie was seen by one of her sister's friends walking home. Now, the girl obviously didn't think this was unusual. She just spotted Millie, noticed who it was. But she said the weird thing was, she was waiting for a bus, and she got on the bus a couple of minutes later, went round the corner, but then she couldn't see Millie anymore. She wasn't over worried, but she just thought it was unusual to see somebody walk round the corner and then a couple of minutes later go round the corner and they're not there. It was just strange. But she didn't think anything more of it, and she continued her journey home. At 7 PM, after failing to return home, Millie was reported missing by her parents. Her sister had actually come home, asked her father where Millie was, and he said that she hadn't arrived home yet. And her sister said in an interview that at this point she knew she would never see Millie again. She calls it sister intuition. She just knew something bad had happened. So a nationwide search took place. The police looked at CCTV of the bus stop and around the bus stop where the girl had seen Millie. And the first thing they noticed was there was a car with somebody leaning in the passenger side window of the car, and they thought maybe this could be Millie. But the footage was really bad. The sun was shining on the camera. It was an old camera, so it was really grainy, and plus it didn't it wasn't continuous footage like I'm shooting now. it would like take a photo like every few seconds. So it wasn't continuous, so it was very hard to see if it was Millie. But it was later proven not to be Millie because a woman come forward and said that actually it was her driving the car and the person leaning in the car was her son and that they hadn't seen Millie at all. The police actually searched Millie's home and they found letters from Millie saying that she wanted to run away and that she was depressed, that she hated herself, and, you know, normal teenage stuff. I wouldn't really put a lot on this. I think every teenager has these faults and it is normal, but obviously Millie had written it down and just not thrown it away. So the police decided to look into the theory that Millie could have run away. And Millie idolised Will Young. She had recently been to one of his concerts, and Will Young actually made a plea for Millie to come home, just in case she had run away. But her parents and her sister said that they never thought she'd run away. She had no reason to run away. She was happy. You know, yes, she wrote the letters, but every teenager has bad days and teenagers can be dramatic. On April 23rd, a body was found in the River Thames, which is, like, Walton sits on the Thames, so it was literally up the road. And it was speculated that it could be Millie, but it actually turned out to be a 73-year-old Maisie Thomas, who had gone missing in March 2001. Her death was not treated as suspicious and has no link to Millie's case. In June 2002, a £100,000 reward was given by the national tabloid, The Sun. Her parents text and ringed Millie's phone every day, but there was still no sign of Millie. She wasn't answering the texts or the phone calls. The police told Millie's family that the chances of finding Millie alive were very slim and that the police were now treating this as if Millie was dead. On the 22nd of September 2002, mushroom pickers in, let me get this right, Yateley, Hampshire, stumbled across the naked human remains of Millie. The remains were badly decomposed and the cause of death could not be found. It was only confirmed to be Millie by using dental records. Her clothes, school bag and phone have never actually been found. So at this point, Surrey police, who were handling the investigation, changed this from a missing person to a homicide investigation. And it was codenamed Operation Ruby. In November of 2004, officers in London, which isn't actually that far away from where we live, it's like maybe an hour, if that. They contact Surrey police and said that they might have a suspect because they had been looking into some attacks and murders in like the area, and they just think that maybe this guy had something to do with Millie's murder. And this guy's name was Levi Belfield. Levi was visited by Surrey police and he actually lived in the area. They knocked on his door 11 times, but they never got any answer, so they just left it, which I think is terrible police work. Just because someone doesn't answer the door, you don't just, oh, do you know what, we'll just leave it then, we'll leave him alone. They should have probably looked into other places he could have been staying, or I don't know, maybe like monitor the house to see if he's going in and out of it. Levi was looked into for multiple murders, but he hadn't actually always been successful. A young girl was on her way home. She had been on the bus and she'd gotten off the bus to walk the rest of the way home. When she noticed there was a car parked at the side of the road, this car just seemed a bit suspicious to her. Like, it had no headlights on or anything, but it just made her feel uneasy. So she decided that rather than walk past the car, she would cross over the road. As she was crossing the road, the car sped towards her, running her over. She fell to the ground, obviously injured, when the car went into reverse and ran over her again. And then the car just sped off, obviously thinking he had killed her, when in fact he hadn't, and she rang 999, and after 2 weeks she was able to give the police a description of the car, and she described it as a white people carrier with a broken wing mirror. The police checked the CCTV from the bus that she was on and saw that the car had actually followed the bus for quite a while. And this had actually happened before. This wasn't the first time. The same thing had happened to 2 other girls. And the car matched the car owned by Levi Belfield. On July 6, 2005, Levi was questioned about Millie Dowler's murder. During questioning, he never denied any involvement. He would always just answer, no comment. He got more and more nervous as the questioning went on, and police had no evidence to support that he'd murdered anyone. So there was really no reason for him to be that nervous unless he did something. So the police decided they would go and speak to his then ex-girlfriend, who he was actually with when Millie was murdered. She said that she had not seen him the day Millie went missing, that she was actually house sitting and not at the flat. She met him later in the night, and he had changed his clothes from when she had seen him first thing in the morning. They went to bed, but then early hours of the morning he decided to get out of bed, get dressed, and take the dog and tell her that he was going back to the flat because he wanted a lay-in. It didn't really make a lot of sense, but she let him go. But when she returned to the flat, she noticed there was quite a few items missing. One being bed sheets. When she questioned him about where the bed sheets were, he said, "What do you think? I did Millie?" This wasn't what she thought at all. She actually thought that maybe, he was cheating on her, and the sheets had got messy, and he panicked and threw them away. She never thought that he'd murdered somebody. You wouldn't assume your boyfriend's a murderer. So Levi actually said that one of the dogs had messed on the bed, and that's why he threw the bed sheets away. But she didn't really believe this because her dog wasn't known to mess in the house. He was quite good. He'd go outside. He was a toilet trained dog. Not toilet trained, house trained. But he wouldn't mess on the sheets, so why would Levi say he did? She also mentioned to police that her and Levi used to walk their dogs in Hampshire. And this was actually one of their favourite places to go and walk the dogs. The police asked her to take them to where they used to walk the dogs. And without knowing it, Levi Belfield's ex-girlfriend led them straight to where Millie's body was found. Which it could have been a coincidence, but no. It's too unlikely that it was just a coincidence. The police were now looking for hard evidence. They needed to prove that Levi Belfield could have done this. So they asked his ex-girlfriend what car he drove. And he drove a red Dowler car. I'm sorry if I just butchered that. Dowler? I'm not sure. When they checked the CCTV footage of the last time Millie was seen, or the area where Millie was last seen, they noticed that just 23 minutes after Millie Dowler went missing, Levi Belfield's car was seen on the CCTV in the area where she was last seen. But just 8 days after Millie's disappearance, Levi had reported this car as stolen, and the police were never able to find it. I don't know, maybe he drove it into a lake or had it crushed, or he clearly did not want the car to be found. There was a young girl who was walking home from school on the 20th of March 2002. So this was just a day before Millie Dowler went missing. And she said she was approached by a man in a red car, and that the man in the car, matching Levi Belfield's description, said to her that he had just moved in next door to her and would she like a lift home. But she knew all her neighbours, and she knew that this guy did not live next door to her. So she declined, carried on walking. When she got home, she told her parents, and they called the police. And this was reported as suspicious. In May of 2006, Levi was charged with the murder of 2 girls and the attempted murder of 2 others. He pleaded not guilty, and he denied this, but they didn't need him to plead guilty because the jury found him guilty, and he was sentenced to 3 life sentences in prison. But the hunt for Millie Dowler evidence still continued. They still hadn't got a conviction for Millie. She deserved justice as well. Police narrowed down where Millie was taken from and worked out that it would have been Collingwood Place. Collingwood Place is where Levi lived with his girlfriend. There was just too many connections between Levi and Millie for this just to be coincidence. Due to the high bushes, it was easy for anyone to hide, in the bushes, and not be seen from the path. Detectives, reporters, everyone's tried this, and if somebody is standing in just the right spot, they can't be seen from the path. It is believed that he snatched Millie and took her to the flat. He is unaccounted for around 6 hours that day. It is believed that he went back to the flat early hours of the next day, and this is when he sadly disposed of Millie's body. It is unknown if she was alive during this time when he was with his girlfriend, but it is highly thought that she wasn't. In May of 2011, Levi Belfield went on trial for the murder of Millie Dowler. His defence tried to say that Millie was suicidal and that she ran away, and that because no cause of death could be found, that the likelihood is she probably committed suicide. But nobody believed this. She didn't seem suicidal when her friend spoke to her. There was no real evidence that she was actively suicidal. But there was a lot of, obviously, evidence that pointed towards Levi being involved. Levi Belfield was found guilty, and he was sentenced to another life sentence to go on top of the 3 that he already had, which means he would now be serving 4 life sentences in prison. And that's basically the end of the case. I will just note that the Daily Mail got in trouble, and there was another court case to do with Millie. Millie's mum and dad had been ringing her phone and texting her, and they were leaving her voicemails. And eventually the voicemail box got full. When one day Millie's mum rang the phone and got through to the voicemail, it no longer gave the message that the voicemail was full. Now this gave her hope. She really thought that Millie was listening to her messages, and that Millie knew how much she missed her, and it also meant that Millie was alive. But it later turned out that the Daily Mail had actually hacked Millie's voicemail and were deleting messages so that the parents could leave more messages for the Daily Mail to listen to. This is disgusting. Them poor parents, to think that your child is alive when they're not, because some sick newspaper wanted, a good headline, or to just know all the details of what the parents were going through, is disgusting. The family was awarded £2 million for this, But that's just, to me, money doesn't make up for the heartache, the devastation of finding out that Millie was dead when they made it seem like she was alive. Levi has actually admitted to the rape and murder of Millie Dowler, but he then said that he didn't admit it. He now continues to deny it. But everybody knows Levi Belfield is responsible. You also might have heard of Levi Belfield as the bus stop killer, which was a name given to him because of his other murders. I might at some point do a video on the other murders. Because yeah, there's a lot more detail than what I've included in this one. But yeah, so Levi Belfield or the bus stop murderer. But this video is about Millie Dowler and how a very talented girl's life was cut short because of a sick human being. And I don't believe 4 life sentences was enough. And I hope that he never ever gets out of prison. And I hope Millie Dowler's family are doing well. And I know they will probably never heal from this, but I hope they're finding a way to cope. And that is all for today. Thank you for watching. Please, if you like this, give it a like, comment, but always remember to be respectful. And subscribe to my channel. I aim to release 1 video a week, but that doesn't always seem to work out. But I upload regularly, so please give me a subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
Do you feel your bones start to shake? Do you feel the earthquake? Do you feel your bones start to shake? Do you feel the earthquake?